for today's Thursday Lunch and Learn, I want to talk about the importance of a job hunt checklist. Now, if you followed me for any length of time on LinkedIn, you know that there's one thing I'm always harping on, which is having a job search strategy, having a career strategy, just being strategic and intentional and systematic in general when you're just thinking about your career, job, education, whatever. Why I feel like this is so important because so many of my clients and some of these folks are very like accomplished people. They waste time before they start working with me on random stuff. So they're just doing random things. And a lot of times, these things are not actually helping their job hunt, it's draining their energy. Sometimes these things aren't like aligned with their personality, but they seem like things that they should just do. They saw an article in Forbes, or they heard that a friend of a friend had done this. Now, while I'm all about, exploring, figuring out what works for you, that's great. Do it. However, if you have been on a job hunt for a while, or you are seeing something kind of up ahead where you're like, okay, things are going to get dicey at this company, I need to like think about what happens, like if the axe falls on my position. A lot of times, if you're just trying random stuff, you're not usually doing it from a place of I'm exploring, I'm learning about myself. You're doing it from a place of oh God, something's going on. I'm panicking, I gotta get into something, I gotta pay rent, blah blah blah. And that means that you're not really thinking critically on if this is even a wise decision for you. Now, I have been there. Totally been there. So you're not going to get any judgments from me. But I really feel like for most people, particularly those who are in the tech field, it's important to have a strategy because your job hunt could be longer. And there's always, something new up ahead in the job market or the political arena that can make things a little unpredictable. So, having a strategy, having a plan, having a checklist of stuff that you do every day not only keeps you on track so you're not wasting your time and energy on stuff that's meaningless, it helps you feel more empowered because you're able to look at the things in the zone that you control and you're on top of it. You're getting the dopamine of checking something off a list, and you're also able to schedule and plan your day because you theoretically, after you've done your checklist a few times, you know how long this stuff takes. So then you can also schedule in really good self care, like meeting friends, spending time with your family, running your chores or doing essential errands. I don't know, playing a board game with your kids, a video game by yourself, whatever like you do to like relax or to, get your socializing time with your people. When you know that okay, here is the container of time I spend on my job hunt, that gives you more freedom in the rest of your life. And now, yes, there are going to be times when you're going to go outside your schedule because there's other things going on. Maybe there's a opportunity that comes up. That's great. Totally cool. However, I see too many people who spend a lot of time on LinkedIn and they're just doom scrolling. They're not actively applying to jobs. They're not like commenting or doing really anything. They're lurking and they're feeling bad, or they're going through job boards, looking at the same jobs over and over again. So that's why I really want you to have some sort of a checklist. Now, what could be like a daily job search schedule? So I would really recommend that for your favorite job boards and talent agencies, that you sign up for like a daily or a weekly digest that sends job leads to you. That means that you don't have to spend a whole lot of time on these job boards, because I find that some people, they get a little bit more depressed from the grind. So you check the job board digest that you got. Maybe you do a couple of searches on LinkedIn. I recommend having this be a timed activity. Like you spend like 20 or 30 minutes collecting these different job leads, seeing what's out there, and then apply to at least one well matched job. Or if you can't find one, because I don't recommend the pray and the spray, particularly for people in tech, because at the moment, and this could change, but at the moment, companies are really looking for folks who are fulfilling, like, at the very least, 80% of the qualifications. Some are going for folks who hit all 100% of it. So if you are just like, oh, well, I have 50% of the qualifications, maybe they'll train me, you're going to be spending wasted time. That is, unless you have some sort of insider information or like a really juicy, well placed referral, I would just apply to things that you're relatively well matched for. Um, Now, do you have to apply to a job a day? Not necessarily, but you want to at least curate a couple of jobs, like 5 to 10 jobs that you can apply to a week for an active job hunt. And that kind of amount will give you at least enough time to tailor your resume and cover letter. And now, what I would also suggest is, particularly if you're using LinkedIn a lot and you're trying to build up a brand on LinkedIn, or just at least get some more visibility in your industry, which if you are in marketing or tech or design or anything like that, you want to have some sort of active professional presence online that can really help your visibility and get more people just seeing what you can do. And for marketing people, if you're unemployed, I mean, it's a way for you to just kind of showcase your skill and your clout. So with LinkedIn, think about the algorithm as something that sometimes you have to warm up a little bit, like you know, it's like warming up your car in the wintertime if you're, from the Northeast. So you can spend like maybe 10, 15 minutes just commenting, liking posts that come up in your feed. If you're very savvy, you might have like a list of companies or folks that you just kind of want to keep on your radar. So you might start with those pages and profiles first, where if you see something, naturally and organically, like comment or share their stuff. Like, don't be weird about it or use too much AI. There's been a real pushback against AI comments. It's not necessarily going to be the impression that you're going to want. So you can spend 10, 15, 20 minutes engaging with other industry professionals on LinkedIn, and then you could post something yourself if you want to, maybe share a portfolio piece. Maybe you want to showcase your thought leadership or your skill set in the industry. You might write something that showcases that. Maybe you just kind of want to engage people. So you ask like an engaging question, like, what design books um, are y'all reading right now? If you're like a UX designer, for instance, um, that can be something that can like show activity on your profile, and it can be a way for you to just stay on other people's radar, which I have to tell you, as somebody who has really built a lot of my career on in my freelance business on word of mouth and just people remembering me and referring their friends or their family or their colleagues to me, I gotta tell you, like, just staying on people's radar can be super helpful. And it's also helpful for the algorithm because if it sees that you're active and you're warming it up, it's going to share your posts and your comments more often. And it's going to signal to recruiters who are using the recruiter version of LinkedIn that you're an active profile and that you're somebody that should be contacted, because the LinkedIn side of, or the recruiter side of LinkedIn, recruiters can filter out people who aren't active on the platform. Then after you post, you can also then comment a couple times. That's pretty helpful. So just to summarize, spend 10, 15 minutes commenting, engaging, post, and then 10, 15 minutes commenting, engaging. That's going to warm up the algorithm. That's going to get you that activity that you need. That's going to help broadcast your posts, and that's going to help you keep on people's radar. And I feel like that's also a better way for folks to kind of cultivate a network as opposed to sending a bunch of DMs to people who might ignore it, or you might end up in like a request folder. You might be buried under whatever messages that they already have. Your comments will end up in their notifications, which a lot of people will see, and it's going to be a low key way to stay in contact with people as opposed to, like, I don't know, trying to be their pen pal, which a lot of people don't have time for. The next thing in your daily job search routine, I would really suggest like spending like 30 minutes or something, just kind of doing a general upskilling or just kind of being up to date on different new trends. So that could be learning a new tool or improving your skills with the software, reviewing a case study, practicing for technical interviews. Right there, that's going to give you a couple of hours, maybe in the afternoon or something when your kids are at school, where you can, bam, get a lot of stuff done without spending your whole life in front of that keyboard. Now, of course, you want to like track some applications, be organized. I would suggest using a platform like Notion or a spreadsheet or something to track your applications and possibly follow up with previous ones. That's always a good part of a daily routine. But above all, take care of your mental health. So step away from the screens, exercise, spend time outside of your house. I know that for some people, when they are unemployed and they're job hunting, they're on a tight budget. There are things that you can do that are free or low cost. And with this job search schedule, consider going to places like a library where you can take your laptop, be at a workstation, be outside of your house for free, and then as you leave, you can check out a book or a movie or something that gives you that little bit of a mental break for your, just escape into something. Check out, the Lord of the Rings, or The Hobbit or something if you haven't read those since college. Libraries are a really underused resource in so many communities. Um, all I'm saying, I love the library. Next is think about your weekly job search goals. So I mentioned before the idea of submitting like 5 to 10 high quality applications where you prioritize a tailored application over just blasting your resume everywhere. Now, there are some people who really do believe in the power of just blasting your resume everywhere. I totally get that. Some people, like I've heard of some developers and stuff like that who've created programs that really help them. Now, for me, the issue with that is that so often what happens is that one, you're discarded and you just end up being another application that's clogging up a hiring pool for other people. Two, I've certainly known people who will end up using some sort of program. And there's also people like who are selling their services applying for you, and they just apply you to whatever. They apply you to garbage that you're not even interested in. So there could be stuff that you have to reject or is not applicable. I mean, particularly when you outsource a job hunt like that, People who are you outsourcing to, they're not paying the same attention that you would. I remember I knew a lady who she wanted to write those like low content Amazon books, and because she wanted to, like, that scheme, like get rich quick on Amazon, except Amazon was already cracking down on that. But she hired like somebody, she outsourced somebody from India to collect names for her because she was like gonna put out like a baby name book. And she got it. She kind of did some spot quality control, but she didn't read every name in there. And then she got a review, like an annoyed review on Amazon, where somebody was like, "This, I returned this baby book, this baby name book. It sucks." One of the names they suggested was hamburger. So I'm not saying that, like, if you outsource this, that whoever you're going to outsource this to is just going to be terrible or anything like that. I'm just saying they're not going to be minding the quality the same way that you would. They aren't going to be thinking about your career with the same level of care that you might think about your career. So that's just one thing to keep in mind if you are tempted by those services to just blast your resume everywhere. The next kind of weekly job search goal I would recommend is reaching out to maybe 3 to 5 new connections. And also some of those, like 3 to 5 new connections, and also following up with folks that you already know. So these new connections could be like, um, maybe like connecting with someone that you noticed posted something or commented something insightful on LinkedIn. Or if you do an informational interview with a service like ADP List, or maybe, you go to an in-person networking event, and you meet somebody, you meet folks there and you connect with them on LinkedIn. I would really encourage you to think about networking as an investment in your career, and not just like go through networking where you're just like spamming people asking them for a job because that's unlikely to work, but as a way where you're building up genuine connections. And speaking of networking, try to like do something that is like, maybe try to find like an in-person networking event if you can. Maybe if you're part of like an online community, like maybe a Discord server for web developers, like check in and see how everybody's doing, post or something, join a conversation, maybe go to a career fair. Mostly try to think about one thing that you can do to meet people, boost your own visibility, join the conversation, and just checking to see what's going on some of these forums or professional associations that you're a part of, because you never know like where there could be a job lead. There's something called the hidden job market, which maybe you've probably already heard about it, but if you haven't, these are jobs that are not posted widely. So they might just be shared in a couple locations and private forums. And those are going to be jobs that aren't going to have like 100 applicants or more, like you see sometimes on LinkedIn. So that's why it really does behoove you to at least like once a week check in on some of these networking communities or in-person events that you're part of. And of course, if you need to, like update your portfolio or your GitHub, your LinkedIn, if you have a new project, update people, let folks know, share like a post on LinkedIn about, a project or, a charity thing that you're a part of. Um, Making sure that you're staying up to date on these things can be helpful because it's really easy in a job hunt to maybe finish a project or, upload something cool to GitHub and just kind of forget to note that in a portfolio or a LinkedIn profile or on your resume or whatever. Of course, it's not going to be an every week thing, but if it applies, just make a point of it, especially if you're already having like a weekly review of your progress where you can kind of adjust what you're doing based on the responses and the feedback that you're getting. And yes, no response is a form of feedback. So this is just like a small selection of a sample checklist or routine that you could do. And of course, your mileage is going to vary because what I'm all about is like folks making a strategy and a schedule that's aligned with them. So maybe you're somebody who part of your strategy is doing content creation. Maybe you have like, you have some project management friends, and you guys have a podcast you're on that. Your weekly goals could include release a podcast episode. But for a lot of people, you're not going to podcast. That's not part of your thing. So make sure that you are creating a routine and you're creating goals that make sense with your personality, your overall objective in your job hunt, and your objective should be more than get a new job. I would really suggest, if you haven't already, just kind of dive into specifically what you want, because that's going to make finding job leads, updating your resume, networking with people. That's going to make that stuff a lot easier, and you're going to have a lot more of a focus, and you're going to be less scattershot if you know exactly what you're going for. Okay, so I don't want this to be a super long video. We're already 20 minutes in. Ooh, sorry guys, I was hoping this would be 10 minutes. But I just wanted to share this because I've had folks ask, like, what should be my checklist for a job hunt? And I always think, okay, it depends on your goals, but I wanted to highlight what a sample daily checklist could be and what like a weekly check of your goals could also be, because you don't want to overload yourself. Why I was very particular about not having a checklist it's going to take you all day, because ideally you spend like maybe 3 or 4 hours on your job hunt during the weekdays, and then you give yourself plenty of time to rest, to socialize, to take care of other matters. And that is going to help you so much just with your mental health, your self-care, your personal relationships. And I find that when people are staying connected with their loved ones in their communities, they find opportunities in kind of like in a serendipity sort of way. That's happened to me before. I know plenty of people where they get like referrals just randomly through somebody at their church or in an exercise class, or they see a posting on a community board in the library or something like that. So to quote the musical Avenue Q, there is life outside of your apartment, and I really want you to have a job hunt schedule and routine that allows you to go outside, to feel the sun on your face, to be with the people that you care about, because you're just going to have a better job hunt. And when you do get that interview, you're going to be in like a mental health state where you're going to do so much better. You're going to be able to seem comfortable. You're going to seem more relaxed. You're going to be more confident. And that's going to show in your interview. Okay, so that is the Thursday Lunch and Learn for this week. As always, I'm Sammy, your career specialist. If you'd like to reach out to me, I do have 90-minute strategy sessions available, but DM me. Tell me what your needs are when it comes to career support, and I'll let you know what services I have. Have a good one.